Sorry for the slight delay. Pearl is brewing up a delicious cup of coffee, which you can join us with if you're having one. Today's College Coffee Talk is September 10th, 2025, February 10th, 2025. Just getting a little ahead of myself. I'm not wrong, I'm early.
It's a good thing we have coffee for you.
Just be on time next time, all right? It could be a prop. This is not a prop.
We had a sour
this is
milk
delicious.
issue.
I told you I got spare milk. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, synchronized sip.
Cheers.
That is delicious. We had a failure to get ready on time issue, Pearl. You can't. This is a new administration. It's a new era. It's a golden era. You've got to take personal responsibility for everything.
I take personal responsibility with the fact that I was late today. Personal responsibility and taking it is hugely important.
Yes. You're worth the wait, I will say.
I apologize. I was dealing with a chunky milk situation, but thankfully you brought back up.
That was identified last night.
Right, but the chunky milk wasn't disposed of. All right. Anywho.
You want to talk about college stuff?
College things.
All right.
Let's do it.
So what we usually talk about on the show is all things related to college, getting into college, paying for college, whether you should go to college or not go to college, SAT prep, ACT prep, etc. Because this is February, not September, we're going to talk about something timely, which is groveling. Groveling for more money from your college, whether it's financial aid or scholarships. This is almost prime time because most offers are in, not all, but you may be staring at your offer and thinking to yourself, where's the beef? So today we're going to talk about stuff I've covered in this book, which is available on Amazon and makes a great gift idea. What holidays are there this month? Valentine's Day.
Well, we have President's Day.
Yeah.
The birthdays.
Yeah. So it comes from
Black History Month.
How to negotiate your crappy financial aid and merit aid offer. So we're going to be covering some tips and tricks on that. And we're also, if we have time, Pearl's going to do another installment of Don't Be That Mom, which is my favorite segment.
But I'd like to rename what you're about to get into. Instead of just groveling, we should call it groveling with strength. Well, there's a difference.
Is that an oxymoron, like military intelligence?
Nope. There's
if
groveling.
You're groveling, you're weak.
You are weak, but you may have some strength, and you got to execute with strength.
So it's like negotiating.
It is.
Oh, how to negotiate your crappy financial aid and merit aid offer. But groveling is just, some people feel like they have to grovel, but I agree with you.
I think the mindset of strength is important.
Well, sometimes you don't have any, and that's an issue also. So if you're watching this now and you have a class of 2025 child, the die has been cast, the cards have been dealt, whatever metaphor you want to use. If you were proactive and you thought about this stuff ahead of time, which I would say 99% of families don't, unless they're working with us or someone who looks at things this way, you have to understand that the best defense is a good offense. So if you have someone who's a 2026 or younger grad, then think about that. We're going to be covering, again, how to develop or foster an environment that is conducive to negotiating. But let's say that you haven't done any of that and you have a class of 2025 child and you're starting to get these offers and you're thinking to yourself, wow, these are light, or I didn't get anything, or boy, college is expensive, right? So if you're thinking that, you have plenty of company, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let us know that you're coming in, that we're coming in loud and clear in the comments here, or just say hi. And if you have questions, post them here. I do see a bunch of people coming on with us, so just let us know that you can hear us in all of our glory and sarcasm and
coffee
and banter. So just say hi. And if you're watching this on replay or listening to this on our podcast, you can do that too, but we're not going to be able to respond. But if you have questions, absolutely post them in there. Okay, let's begin. So first of all, a lot of people don't understand that you actually can appeal or negotiate an offer. You are not in danger of having the admissions acceptance letter rescinded, or there's really no downside, unless there's one type of situation. If you've done something totally fugazi when you applied to, and we have examples of this, but initially, if you filled out your college applications and your financial aid applications and you lied on them, or you did something a little messed up, and then you appeal, they're going to scrutinize everything you did. So let's just put that skunk on the table, set it aside. I'm going to assume that our viewers and listeners have not done that. But the stories we could tell. Yeah. So if you are looking at your award and you're thinking, what can I do? You can appeal it. Every college has its own protocol or its own guidelines as to how you do that. So what you should not do is show up on campus and stalk the financial aid office or pound your fists. And attitude is very important too. Your tone is important. We're going to touch on that later. What you need to do is I would go on their website first and figure out, how do you appeal. You may have to hunt around a little bit, but it's there. Mm-hmm. Not that they advertise, hey, you can get more money from us, because remember, this is not necessarily a collegial type of relationship. It might be a little adversarial. These colleges are businesses. They don't necessarily want to tell you how to get more money, despite whatever you may have heard on the college tour, the dog and pony show that they had you sit through and all that. They have a delicate balancing act in terms of trying to figure out, and it's not guesswork. It's based on algorithms and consultants and all sorts of other stuff behind the scenes. They're trying to figure out the least amount of money to give you where they have the greatest chance of landing you as a customer, as enrolling you as a family. So one of the things that's happening right now organically, that's I would actually say is in your favor, is that we are at a peak of 3.9 million high school graduates, most of which are headed to college next year. So what that means for these colleges is there's more guesswork, because they don't know. They used to be able to tell with reasonable certainty, okay, well, if we admit X amount of people, we're going to yield Y amount of students. And because of all the, number one, the increased students graduating, number two, the rise of the common application, which lets you apply to 20 colleges, limits you 20 colleges, which is sad and funny, plus test optional policies by a lot of these colleges, then they're getting inundated. So they don't have as much of a feel for whether and how they can land you. But I think it's good, because if you have a bunch of offers from competing colleges, you might be able to play them off against each other. And I think you're in a position of strength if that's the case. So generally speaking, colleges either want you to email them and say, hey, can I talk to you about aid? This is either merit aid or need-based aid. Or if it's a need-based aid appeal, they'll say either email us or we want you to complete this form, like a financial aid appeal form, which are not particularly hard, right?
No.
So where it does get a little hard in terms of thought being required is you're supposed to submit an explanation, right?
Yeah. I was just laughing, because if you don't have circumstances, it's going to be hard.
All right. So what are some of the circumstances that are good sources of appeal?
Okay. So if, as we all know, for the 2025 graduates, the 2023 tax return is the tax return that we're required to use on the financial aid forms, and which largely the financial aid award is based. So we are now in 2025. Lots can be different now. Lots may be different now than they were in 2023. For example, there may have been a job loss. There may have been a divorce, so the marital status is different. There may be a reduction. There may be a retirement. Some change in circumstance from the 2023 tax return that is no longer the current financial reality. So anything that bears on your ability to pay for college that was not otherwise elaborated on in full in the financial aid forms, that is the opportunity in the special circumstances for the financial aid appeal.
So it's basically a drop in income that they wouldn't have known about. So if you had a good year in 2023, but your business, took a dive, or you got laid off, or other reasons you lost income in 24, they wouldn't know about it. Another one is huge, significant an increase in expenses, significant expenses, like you had a hurricane rip through, or wildfires.
You took an elderly parent in
Right.
to live.
Not that, oh, we pay a lot to send our kids to camp.
Right.
That's discretionary. That is a bad argument. And that is based on actual facts.
As is, I live in Long Island, or I live in San Francisco, and it is the most expensive place in the country to live.
Yeah.
What do you expect me to do?
Right. So no. Number one, they already know this. That's not new information because they see the address of your applications. But number two, the response is usually something like, "Well, you chose to live there."
Yep.
And I know that may not be the best response, but that is generally the response that financial aid officers give. And of course, you choose to live in different areas for many different reasons, including you can make more money in some areas than others. But anyway, that's not going to go too far.
I do want to caution our listeners. They also are not interested in things that are going to happen.
Yep.
They're not interested. My spouse is going to retire next year. This is going to happen. I lost and unfortunately, we could also run into sometimes, I just lost my job.
Yeah, you have two right now.
Right.
For our clients.
And in some schools, it's not across the board. Again, everything is school specific. This is all in the art form of this formula, I call it, like all discretionary. But if schools hear of a job loss, for example, a recent job loss, they very well may, well, of course, if you have some severance situation, not look at it. But even if you don't have a severance situation, they may say, well, let's give it some 6 months to see if maybe you get a new job. And then we can reevaluate in 6 months if you haven't. So I'm cautioning you on talking about future or near future events. They're not going to consider that. It's got to be what's happening now.
When you say a severance situation, do you mean like you're in an office that's really creepy and they black you out when you go to work, and then when you...
Yes.
Okay.
No, meaning if you have continued ongoing income, even though you have the job loss, your financial situation is not different.
Ouch. Aggressive. Right. So if, unfortunately, if you were just laid off, usually colleges will say, we don't want to adjust your award right now because you could get a job in 3 weeks. So they'll make you sit out for a few weeks or a couple of months. And of course, if you received a severance, then your income is still unaffected. Usually, it might be even better than what you showed before in the previous base year. Like in our case, 2023, that we're using as an example. So new information like a drop in income, a significant drop in income. New information like these significant expenses. We listed a few. It could be legal expenses. If you had something happen with your business, or getting divorced, and you paid out all the lawyers, or whatever, personal bankruptcy, that type of thing.
Now you're supporting 2 households.
Yep. And then my favorite one is if you received an offer from a competitive college or more than one competitive school. That's usually something you can engineer ahead of time when you are setting up your list of schools. So for anyone who's a 2026 or younger family, think about this in the back of your head before you start finalizing your college lists over the summer, because colleges that compete with each other, meaning they're roughly on the same tier, so not Harvard versus Fairfield, but Fairfield versus Scranton. Okay, again, schools that loosely compete with each other, those are generally the best bet to solicit offers as a straw man, so to speak, and use that not because apply to a college and get that offer not because your child necessarily wants to go to that school, but to use it as leverage against one of the other schools that you might need once they give you an award that you want to try to improve. So playing schools off against each other. A lot of colleges will say, no, we don't match. That's fine. And sometimes they don't match. And sometimes they say, no, we don't match. And then they match. So try it anyway, but just do it in a way that is not mercenary or aggressive. or adversarial. You want to try to be on the same side of the bargaining table. So when I write letters of appeal for our clients, and we actually help. So if you're not a client right now and you're interested in getting our help, then I'll have you post a link
Okay.
when I get through this explanation. But if you are a client, we do this for you. And the gist of it would be, look, thank you very much for your award, but my parents are freaking out at how, and this should usually come from the student. My parents are freaking out about paying for college. I'm not sure that they can afford it. I was lucky enough to receive these other offers attached, so they know you're not BSing.
Yeah.
And I heard that sometimes colleges will match other offers. Is there any way you could do that? If you could, we're coming. I'll rush in my housing deposit. Words to that effect. That is different than what we've seen other people do in the past, which is we had this one doctor years and years ago when we had our old office in Plainview, because I remember this very vividly. You remember this one?
Maybe. Keep going.
The gist of it was the kid got into Emory and he got into Tulane. And the doctor said something like, yeah, I called him up and I said, how can you I called up Emory. I said, how can you justify charging us, whatever it was, whereas Tulane is letting her come for half off or something. And he didn't get very far because, number one, those aren't competitor schools. Tulane might see Emory as a competitor, but Emory does not see Tulane as a competitor. Right. Number two, he was a jerk about it. He was arrogant. So the tone really matters also.
And another thing that also matters, you don't get numerous bites at this appeal apple, so to speak. And I know the temptation is great when you get some action, you get some awards, and you got the school that you want to go to, so you just want to go and ask for more money, stat. But you have to exercise some patience, because let's just say, frequently I will speak to a client who will say, can we appeal now? Can we appeal now? I just want to know what we're going to pay. And have you heard from everywhere? I would ask. Well, we're still waiting for like 2 really competitive schools that we should hear at the end of the month, but I really want to find out now. Okay, cool your jets, because we are not going to appeal and appeal and appeal. That's not how it works. One bite at the apple. So
99% of the time you get one bite at the apple.
Right. Right, if there's new information, whatever. But what you don't want to do is, okay, we appeal, and now see, we got another, and see, we got another one, and look at this one and this one. They're not going to give you that much attention. So you need to exercise some patience and wait until your financial aid awards come in from all schools, because
or scholarships.
The packages come in so that you have all potential pieces of leverage, if you will, to proffer to the school that you're appealing to.
Right, to make your strongest argument.
Right. And another comment on that, again, with there being basically one bite at the apple, think of it as a trial, okay? You're making your explanation to a jury. You have to get it all in there so that they have everything before them to make a decision. And you also want to come forward with your best evidence when you're in a trial or when you're appealing an award. You're using advocacy, same thing. You want to, if the case is that you have a drop in income from the 2023 tax return, and now you're like, it's 24, it's totally different. My 24 return is going to be bad, 25 is going to be worse. I encourage you to, as soon as possible, get that 2024 tax return filed so that you have that better piece of evidence to attach to that financial aid appeal, that isn't just, and wait till you see my 2024 tax return next year, and it's really much less. How much less? A lot. No, that's not the answer you want to give. You want to give numbers. You want it to be concrete. You want to be able to say the income's dropped 37% or whatever it is. But again, you want to get in front of your audience with the best evidence at one time.
Former prosecutor Pearl Lockwood.
Yes.
You're like a regular Pam Biondi, but a little cuter.
Isn't it just Pam Bondi?
Is it?
I think so.
Anyway, maybe I'm thinking Matt Biondi, the Olympian.
Oh, yeah.
So we have some questions coming in. I'm going to answer those. The last thing I'll say, just to piggyback off of what you just said, is, you know, you're not just making an argument now. You're going into a 4-year, maybe longer relationship with the people in the financial aid office, or potentially in admissions, but really more so in the financial aid office. So you don't want to do anything that makes you seem like a jerk, or causes an eye roll, or anything again that is adversarial. So think about your messaging and be respectful of their time. Always thank them, for their time, and that's why you should do what Pearl said, which was to wait and make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and you're ready to give your highest and best argument, instead of nickeling and diming them. Which is really annoying.
One other comment about that, just that, yes, you should wait till you have all your best evidence in. What you do not want to do is miss the deadline for your housing deposit or for your commitment deposit. That's all I wanted to say.
Good.
No matter what, even if you're appealing, make sure you are on time with that deposit.
Very good. All right. So let's, along those lines, we have a question about that. First, good morning to Christine, our assistant, who's watching. Michelle, Michelle's a client of ours. With housing shortages everywhere, and schools asking for deposits to get priority, since those are usually mostly refundable, how do you feel about making those deposits before there's a final disposition on financial aid?
Go for it.
Yeah, I would do it unless they say something like, this is the only deposit you can make. You can't double deposit or triple deposit at other colleges. By the way, plenty of people do that also. I'm not saying here on the air and on Facebook that you should do that, but I will say that many people do that. Kathy, my daughter was accepted to a local Catholic college on Long Island, and she was offered more scholarships at similar schools. I was told I can write an email to the scholarship committee. However, she was accepted to a program that states on the acceptance letter that first come, first served. I don't want to lose her spot. Any suggestions?
Put your deposit in.
Yeah, take the spot and then appeal. Oh, so getmorecollegemoney.com. Yeah, thought you like that one.
I do.
That's our done with you assistance for appealing. Getmorecollegemoney.com. All right. Good morning to Dawn, to Chris. Chris, we actually had great appealing success with one of her kids. Actually, maybe more than one, but definitely one of them. Sergio, Hema, Teresa. Hello, Teresa. Ryan, what do you think about trying to use an offer from another school as leverage? And then he said, "Oops, you're discussing this right now." Yeah, I as long as you do it in a polite way, not a "yo, what can you do for me" way. Hello to Aaron. Nice. And Patty. So, any questions on begging, groveling, and appealing and negotiating for more aid? Lob them in here. I now want to go to our next segment. Don't be that mom. This is a segment that there is an evergreen amount of material out there in various parent groups, mommy groups, that Pearl infiltrates as a mole, and then comes back with the juiciest or cringiest, sometimes both, examples of what not to do, how not to behave. And you know how people say you shouldn't judge? We're judging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone judges.
Yeah, right. Everyone judges anyway. So this is the judges. This is the judges part of our show, and we're perhaps the two judges, college consultants on the internet right now.
Yeah. Okay, here goes
But in a fun way.
Yeah. From not surprising, at least there's some awareness, anonymous member. Posting anonymously to protect child's privacy. Although some of you will definitely know it's my daughter.
Because I'm so popular, or I'm so annoying.
I mean, everyone, because I'm me, My daughter is still waiting on more results in March. I anticipate a mixed bag. So far, she's having good luck with good schools, and they are even throwing in aid and swag at her like crazy. But
swag.
She's been rejected by her favorite and most selective schools. I am trying to hype up what she has now. of her current acceptances, we have a few front runners.
And then there's more, but
And then there's more
okay.
that's irrelevant.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
Uh,
What do you think about trying to hype up the? I don't even know what
the
that means.
what's left,
Well,
right?
What is she doing? Is she? Right.
This is what I'm imagining. It's great, honey. It's great, honey. It's great, honey. It's great, honey.
Right. So there's a line between being supportive and loving, and then there's crossing that, and you always call it Caillou, right?
Caillou. Does anyone remember that little 4-year-old boy who he had like one little strand of hair, otherwise, no
cartoon.
hair. It's a cartoon, and he talks like this the whole show. And every single episode, it's like, what can we do to entertain Caillou today? Like, we're going to take Caillou first to his very favorite candy store, and then we're going to go to the circus, and then we're going to go to the carnival, and then we're going to read his favorite book, and give him his favorite foods at dinner, and
yeah, I don't know anyone
every day.
Yeah,
this should be Caillou, huh? Don't treat your kids like Caillou.
Well, here's the other thing. I think that if either of us, meaning you, tried to hype up something to one of our kids, they'd be like, "Mom, shut up."
I like it less.
Yeah, exactly. It's the opposite effect. And I think when we do that to each other, it's the same way too.
Right.
So if you really want to influence your child, do the opposite. Use the reverse psychology maybe, but just the thought process of disclosing to everyone that I'm doing my best to hype them up and treat them like they're 4.
Maybe you need a less active role since you're not the college-bound student.
Yeah, let them. It's hard. I'm not going to deny that this type of impulse is easy to overcome, but they're growing up. This is the whole point of this, in theory, of this process of leaving the house, going to college, becoming a young adult, is to launch yourself to be independent and successful, using college as a means to an end to position yourself for all that post college.
Right.
So I can only imagine what she's going to do with her kid once the child is in college. I think we don't need to really imagine too hard that it's going to be continued coddling and snow plowing and helicoptering.
Right.
I get the impulse.
It's okay. It's a really good sorority. It's okay if it's not the one you wanted. Everything.
Yeah.
Instead of hyping up the other choices, again, and I always say this, please stop farming out the importance of your kids into these outside institutions. Keep the importance on your child, on the student, and make it irrelevant which particular school. They've got the goods. They are the prize. This is what this mother should be hyping up. Hype up your daughter. Hype up your daughter and say, no, just because this school says yes or no, this school says yes or no, that doesn't change your constitution of greatness. And that's what that mother should be communicating, so that this student doesn't forever rely on external things to fill them up, to make them feel worthy.
Yeah, I hear you say this frequently to our clients. Don't give your power away.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking and believing that you are the prize, not the college. You are the prize. It doesn't really matter where you go to college. That's the dirty little secret about all this. That's not so secret. There are really successful people who went to colleges you never heard of, or barely went to college, or didn't go to college. And there are abject losers, not in a judgy way, but there are people who are just not successful in life or financially or however you define it, who went to the most elite colleges. So it's not, it's where you go is not who you'll be. That's a
right.
Great phrase that I've heard. I think it was a book that I read a few years ago. So yeah, don't give it away. Good. All right. Any more questions before we wrap up? This was a delicious cappuccino.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. All right. I don't see anything else. In that case, we're going to wrap up. So thanks for joining us this week.
Please lob in your questions, your comments, subjects that you are interested in hearing about so that we can cover them. Yeah. And please follow us if you want more information like this. Please like and subscribe and do whatever you're supposed to do on the social media sites. Which helps us, expand our reach and get this out to more people who could use this information. Have a great week.